Suriname. Both teams, though, rather adapted to these conditions, and that likely will not play a role in this fixture tonight. Well, that is the backdrop for Group A as we get the action underway in the final round of World Cup qualifying. And you get your look at it. Panama, the clear favorite entering the competition, but some plucky upstarts in the mix. El Salvador and Guatemala have both shown their capabilities, and Suriname themselves no slouch. So many would feel this might be the most loaded group in all of the competition. Of course, 3 groups. The group winners all advance to the FIFA World Cup after the double round-robin setup comes to a conclusion in mid-November, and then the top 2 second-place finishers have the opportunity to compete in an inter-confederation playoff, which opens the door for as many as 8 teams to reach the FIFA 2026 World Cup. Of course, US, Mexico, Canada already qualified, so it is a wide open platform for teams like Suriname and Panama to make inroads on the competition. And for Suriname, they have their eyes set on history this evening, a side that has never qualified for a World Cup, but in the last few years reaching rather unprecedented heights. And this Suriname national team making its 4th ever Gold Cup after reaching the Nations League quarterfinals for the first time ever in the 2024-25 slate, and now in the 3rd and final round of World Cup qualifying for the first time since the 1978 cycle. And if they get a result tonight, maybe they can just start to dream about that elusive World Cup berth. But it is no small task, we should say, taking on a Panama side that is the undisputed favorite in Group A. Thomas Christiansen has said blatantly that their goal is to reach the World Cup. It is their primary priority as they've assessed the way they should allocate their squad for this summer's competitions, and now getting back up to full strength as well with the reintroduction of the likes of Cecilia Waterman and Coco Carrasquilla, among many others, in their return from injuries that kept them out of this summer's Gold Cup. It sets the stage for what effectively is a microcosm of David against Goliath. The Suriname side ranked 136th in the world, but on the rise against a Panama squad that is just 1 spot off its all-time peak in the FIFA World Rankings at 30th, has reached 2nd in the latest edition of the Concacaf rankings after a strong display in this past year's Nations League, of course reaching the final. But now they must adjust their framing. They are no longer the plucky underdog, the overlooked side. They are the favorite. Thomas Christiansen understanding that, and now they must take care of business against a trio of sides they are expected to handle with flying colors. For Suriname, it's been an interesting last 12 months or so. You can even flash back to maybe last 3 years or so. A team that historically has not allowed dual nationals to compete in the national team, but with the introduction of a sport passport at the start of this decade, it has opened the door to so many players in the Netherlands of Surinamese descent to represent Suriname. Many players flocking to the Surinamese national team ranks from the Eredivisie or the Dutch second tier, as well as other leagues throughout Europe. And it also has opened the door for native-born Surinamese players who have made their career abroad to come back and represent their home nation. And what a slate of results it has been, totally reflected on the pitch over the course of the last 2-3 years. That is the stage set. Suriname getting their first ever appearance in the final round of World Cup qualifying since 1978, underway against a Panama side that features in the final stage of the World Cup qualifying slate for the 4th consecutive cycle. A team that qualified for the World Cup in 2018, went through its ups and downs, but Thomas Christiansen has put them well and truly back into contention. We are getting set for our teams to take the pitch in front of a packed house at the Frank Essid Stadion in Paramaribo, the home venue of the Surinamese national team that seats approximately 3,100 fans. It is an intimate environment and one that is getting packed to the gills as we speak. It should make for what is a tremendous atmosphere in a fixture that many of these fans have not seen in their lifetime, a crucial fixture in the final stages of World Cup qualifying. Well, it is Suriname and Panama. The team's getting set to take the pitch as they warm up in the tunnel. When you think about personnel to spotlight, Panama, a number of key options returning from injuries that kept them out of the Gold Cup. We've already mentioned Coco Carrasquilla, the veteran in the heart of midfield, who is seen as the midfield engine at just 26 years of age, and Cecilio Waterman, who's already famous for his late winner that shocked the United States in the semifinals of the Nations League. But beyond that, key pieces that they return, and Joel Barcenas, who's one of the top creative players on the flanks on the bench this evening, in addition to Jose Fajardo, who is one of the top forwards in the Panamanian ranks. We will take a quick breather, and when we return, lineups and kickoff.
Good afternoon. The FIFA Sabang and the city of Paramaribo welcomes you to this qualification match of the FIFA World Cup 26. Let's welcome the national teams of Suriname and Panama. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem of Panama.
Con ardientes fulgores de gloria se ilumina.
standing for the national anthem of Suriname.
We welcome you back to Paramaribo, where we are just about set for kickoff in Group A action in the final round of the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. It is Suriname hosting Panama, a first ever meeting between these two nations, and it comes with the highest of stakes, a Group A opener, as Suriname begins its first foray into the final round of World Cup qualifying since 1978, and it is against the prospective favorites in this group. Of course, the group winners at the end of our double round-robin slate advance to the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and the top two second-place finishers, potential competitors in the Interconfederation playoffs.
The head coach of Panama is Thomas Christiansen.
This is a massive night for Suriname, a nation that has undergone unprecedented development the last few years football-wise. And here is your look at Stanley Menzo's 11 in his second stint at the helm of the Surinamese national team. A 4-3-3 setup. Rihonel Maharet leads the line. He's partnered by Denzel Ubitana and Urano Kerk, three players who all have played in Dutch football for a considerable period of time and have opted to represent Suriname in the last few years. Quincy Williams, our lead official, Ainsley Rochard, and company his assistants, as the captains in Anibal Godoy and Shaquille Pinas exchange pleasantries. So we're set for this first ever meeting with the highest of stakes in the backdrop. On the opposite end of things for Thomas Christiansen and the prospective group favorites in Panama, as you get your look at the VAR room, a pair of accomplished officials there overseeing all of the action. There is VAR throughout the qualifiers, but on the subject of the visitors, Panama's 11 is as follows: a 4-2-3-1 setup under Thomas Christiansen. Cecilio Waterman, famous for that late goal against the United States in the Nations League semifinals. This is an accomplished squad, returning the likes of Coco Carrasquilla to the fold after he missed the Gold Cup with injury. This is the second-ranked team in Concacaf and the massive favorite to win the group and progress comfortably into the FIFA World Cup. Just about ready to get things underway between Suriname and Panama. It is Suriname in the white strips, Panama in the red strips with the white numbers. Thomas Christiansen saying over the summer, the primary goal is advancing to the World Cup. They adjusted their Gold Cup squad accordingly, exercised an abundance of caution with players who were banged up. Now they bring them all back as they're fully healthy and looking to get their final round of World Cup qualifying off to a positive start. They take on a plucky upstart side in Suriname that hopes to throw a spanner in the works. And we are underway from the Frank Esset Stadion in Paramaribo. Suriname and Panama locking horns for the first time in World Cup qualifying. Sam Goldfarb bringing you all of the action here. A Suriname side that has reached unprecedented heights, qualifying for the quarterfinals of the Nations League in 24-25, not to mention a fourth ever Gold Cup berth in which they were more game than the 1 point through 3 group matches indicated. It is against a Panama side that has a reputation for being the plucky underdogs and now has to adapt to the role of favorites. Here is a first touch from Jose Luis Rodriguez, 27-year-old, who started all 3 World Cup matches in Panama's only appearance in 2018. Carrasquilla. Here's Anibal Godoy. They all-time appearances leader in the Panamanian national team's history. North of 150 now.
En dames en heren, we heten van harte welkom onze president, Haar Excellentie Jennifer Simons.
You can expect Panama to take the fight to Suriname early on. The side that will press the issue. Suriname will look to exert its pace on the break, as this is snatched back by Van Hilderen. Maybe space the other direction for Suriname. Van der Kust. Out wide to Margaret. Decent ball on the overlap. And the first chance just goes begging for Suriname, but that's promising inside 2 minutes. Irano Kirk getting on the end of that. Well, there's the warning shot. If Panama concentrates too many resources forward, there will be holes to exploit in the counter. It's a decent bit of overlapping run. Van der Kust the cutback. Just knocked well over the bar, though. Required better final product. As you get your look at the longtime #1 between the sticks, Orlando Mosquera, who has anchored runs to the Gold Cup final in 2023, as well as a strong campaign in the Copa America last summer, displacing Luis Mejia about 2-3 years ago, and has been the undisputed option between the sticks ever since for Los Canaleros. It is a Panama side that, under Thomas Christensen, has been nothing short of phenomenal. The run to the Gold Cup final, first ever appearance in the Nations League final this past year as well, after upsetting the United States in the semis. They were more than competitive in that final against Mexico. Took a late winner to undo them. Escobar. Late challenge that draws the ire of our lead official. Martinez. Well, for Suriname, we've mentioned the rapid rise, and it's largely in part due to the introduction of a sport passport, which has afforded the opportunity for many Dutch-born players of Surinamese descent to represent Suriname at the senior international level. Suriname, of course, a country that historically is not allowed dual nationals to partake in the Surinamese national team, and that's limited the breadth of options Suriname has to pick from. The likes of Virgil van Dijk and many other Dutch legends, either of Surinamese descent or born in Suriname, but due to their desires to play at the highest levels of club football abroad, they were unable to represent Suriname for quite some time. That obstacle is no longer in the way for the Nacio as they continue to expand their ranks and incorporate new talent, especially from the Dutch Eredivisie. Gutierrez. Clever flick there from Diaz. Burst onto the scene with a quartet of tallies in Panama's run to the Gold Cup quarterfinals this past summer. Ended somewhat disappointingly for their standards. Fell on penalties to Honduras. But Thomas Christensen reiterating throughout the campaign that the primary goal was to prioritize their World Cup qualifying campaigns. And as a result, the likes of Coco Carrasquilla and many others not in the fold during that Gold Cup campaign. Some would argue that it was perhaps still impressive when you consider the sheer breadth of key attacking pieces that were not in the side for that competition. As Carrasquilla pings it over the top, Vassens off his line. Does just enough to prevent any opportunity from materializing. Andrade. Opting to go direct towards Waterman. Etienne Vasson there to claim. There is your look at the longtime Surinamese goalkeeper, his 10th cap, Etienne Vasson, since opting to switch his nationality to Suriname in April of 2024. Home nation of his grandfather. He is a veteran of the Eredivisie ranks in the midst of his 7th Eredivisie campaign with Groningen. He is the prime example of many Dutch-born talents who have switched their nationality to Suriname and have impressed with the Suri boys. It is a pool that can continue to grow, especially if their prospects look promising after the September FIFA window. Van Helderen. One back, and options for Panama now. Carrasquilla chipping it towards Martinez. Flag stays down. And now it was raised at the end of that interchange. Suriname reaching this third and final round after cruising through Group F in round 2 earlier this summer. It was a 4-match group stage that was split across 2 FIFA windows in June of 24 and June of this past summer. And Suriname winning 3 of their 4 fixtures, 3 straight victories to all but confirm their place in the final round before a draw at El Salvador on the final day. This is lofted forward to Kirk. Early cross in, and just bashed over the bar. It would have been offside anyways, but Maharet would have been hoping to do better there. Early headache, perhaps, for Thomas Christensen. Suriname playing direct and causing problems. Jorano Kirk here, who linked up well with Maharet in the Gold Cup. Just able to get on the end of this ball from Balker, and maybe a couple of footsteps beyond the last defender at the time it was played. Wouldn't have mattered anyways, because Maharet's final effort needed to be more on the target. We approach the 10-minute threshold here in Paramaribo, the capital of Suriname, at the Frank Essed Stadion, a venue that seats only around 3,100 fans, and it is packed to the gills. A tremendous atmosphere for Suriname's first match in this final window of World Cup qualifying. Already mentioned it, a 6-match group stage that will extend over the next 3 months in the next 3 international breaks. Group winners all qualify for the World Cup. Panama breaking forward here. Off the mark to Martinez. This is Godoy, longtime MLS veteran. Gutierrez. Falls for Carrasquilla in space. Just deflected wide. A quality stop from Vasson. There is the midfield engine popping up. They don't close him down in time. Negotiates inside Kenneth Paul. And if not for the fingertips of Vasson, it might very well be 1-0. At full extension to deny him. First corner of the night for either side. It is Christian Martinez to take. Swinging ball. Finally dealt with at the second time of asking. In many respects, this fixture appears to be David versus Goliath. You look at the FIFA World Rankings, Suriname right now ranked 136th. Panama is one off its all-time peak at 30th in the world. It speaks to the sheer disparity, at least on paper, between these two sides. Both teams, though, surged through the second round of qualification. Panama outscoring opponents 10-1 over those four fixtures, and that is without a lot of their key talents. Ismail Diaz continuing to wreak havoc as you get your look at the headman of Panama, Thomas Christensen, who has stabilized the Panamanian national team and then some, bringing them to a number of major finals, be it the 2023 Gold Cup, this past year's Nations League final as well, and now into the fourth consecutive final round of qualifying for Panama, a side that, of course, reached the World Cup in 2018 prior to his hiring, and last cycle competitive until the final window of qualification. Fell at the hands of the United States on the penultimate match day. It's a late challenge there from Andrade on Kirk. Klaas. Yunano Kirk, who's already created some danger going forward for Suriname. Jubitana wins it back cleanly, according to our official. Ushered wide, and options for Suriname. Paul. Return ball is far too heavy, and out for a goal kick. On the opposite end of things, Stanley Menzo leads Suriname his second stint at the helm of Denacio, and what a job he has done. Took over a side that narrowly avoided relegation from League A in the 23-24 Nations League and guided them to their first ever quarterfinal berth in this past year's Nations League, as well as another trip to the Gold Cup, as Jubitana is slow to return to his feet. And this point of concern was quite impressive in their World Cup qualifying victory over Puerto Rico last window in June. And the Otromitos man, who is still prone on the deck. You wonder if his race is run. Would be a major blow for Suriname. Someone with a quartet of assists in just 12 international caps, including tonight. You get another look here, just chasing after it in the counter press, and Carrasquilla falls right on top of him. For now, Stanley Menzo with a decision to make. Rodriguez. Return ball to Murillo is undercooked. Paul is fouled. For those just joining us from the capital city of Suriname, we say welcome as the rain begins to pour. Suriname and Panama to open Group A action in the final round of World Cup qualifying. As you see, a slightly overzealous challenge from Anibal Godoy. Unsurprisingly, a bit of a chess match between our two managers thus far. Waterman now landing awkwardly after that coming together with Duraso Klaas. He seems a bit better off than Yubitana did moments ago. He has been an impressive force up front for Panama over the course of his long international career. We've already mentioned it. His most famous moment, perhaps, that thrilling stoppage time winner against the United States in the semifinals of the Nations League. The celebration with Thierry Henry after the fact certainly added to the monumental degree of the moment. Maharat. We've gone from beautiful skies to torrential downpour in a blink. You wonder how that affects the pace of play, maybe who that benefits. Carrasquilla sprays it wide. This is Gutierrez. All action fullback who's not shy about getting forward. Godoy. Jose Luis Rodriguez. Overlapping run from Muriel. Panama just starting to twist the screws now. Outside of the Carrasquilla chance, little to write home about thus far. Waterman, clever flick. That just dragged wide. Gutierrez sees it knuckle the wrong direction. Decent interplay this. Waterman the first time hit. Takes a lot for Gutierrez to wrap his boot around this from a tight angle. This is slick, no doubt. And had this broken the right direction, perhaps it's trouble for Vaesen. We've hit the 20-minute mark of this first half here in Suriname. Nothing to separate Suriname and Panama. In round 3, the final round of World Cup qualifying, both these teams easing through unbeaten campaigns. In round 2, now just 12 teams remain, battling for 3 guaranteed spots in the FIFA World Cup. Kurt. Klaas. This is Kenneth Paul. Pinas. Van Helderen. One of the many Dutch-born players in the 11 for Suriname tonight. Yubitana. He's back on the pitch and seems no worse for wear. Maybe something on for Suriname. Ball to Van Helderen, a couple of steps beyond him. This perhaps their best spell of build-up. It doesn't quite come off, though. Maybe it's a faulty first touch from Van Helderen. Perhaps it's a misjudgment. But there are signs of life the other direction from Donacio. Waterman now giving chase, and his shirt was tugged by Abena. They blow the whistle against him. This may be a physical battle all evening. They do not want to give Waterman any space. Mayanti Abena does just enough to win the set piece. Margaret goes out for Suriname's first corner of the night. In a match like this, where chances are at a premium to open things, you'd figure a set piece would be the primary candidate to get a lid off on this match. Kenneth Powell stands over this, the 28-year-old. Currently playing in the Turkish Super League. Taken with outswing. It's an inviting ball. Falls to the edge of the area. Van Helderen's effort is cut out at the source. That's a loose pass. Canasquilla now in space. And plenty of room to roam now for Panama. Diaz cutting in on his right. Falls for Waterman. Suriname do just enough to rush it out of danger. Lost in the shuffle of the conversation surrounding the prominent clubs at which many of the Surinamese players make their trade. Panama no slouch in that regard, and unsurprisingly so. The bulk of their team either playing across European top flights or even in South American football, where the natural progression is for many players who begin in the Liga Panameña to test their mettle abroad. All in all, a lot of players under Thomas Christensen's tutelage have played in some of the most competitive spheres of club football, irrespective of continent. Cristiano Martinez. Jose Luis Rodriguez. Canasquilla. This is Gutierrez. It's been perhaps Panama's most involved force going forward. When you look at Panama's run of success in World Cup qualifiers, despite the fact that the 2022 cycle, a slight disappointment by their standards, falling just shy of the Inter-Confederation playoff place at 5th in the table, this is a side that has won 5 consecutive World Cup qualifiers dating back to the final day of that competition. It's just one off their best ever run of form in World Cup qualifying. Their all-time best is 6 consecutive wins. It's come twice before, so they can match an all-time best run of form in Concacaf World Cup qualifying with 3 points here. Suriname themselves unbeaten in 4 to begin this slate. Godoy, Canasquilla. Appetizing cross in, just beyond the reach of Martinez. Jose Luis Rodriguez creating havoc, just puts his laces through this and overcooks it slightly for Martinez. But it was a delivery for the cameras that, right into the quarter of uncertainty. The Juarez product, who plays in Liga MX. Solid at the international level as well, his 61st cap. Kirk. While Suriname has yet to establish a clear possessional foothold in this, the argument can be made. Their chances have been just as dangerous. It's been a match of half chances thus far through the opening half hour. Maharet has been at the center of many positive actions going forward. It's read well in the end by Escobar. Balker. One of the few Suriname players not currently playing in the top 2 tiers of their respective leagues, but he plays for Huddersfield Town, which is nothing to scoff at. This is an inviting ball forward. Maharet chipping it to the back post. Yubitana and company unable to keep it in play. Those are the moments of directness, though, where Suriname can threaten. You see Suriname again going direct. Pinas over the top. It looked like Maharet timed his run perfectly. He was looking for either Kirk or Yubitana and split the pair, unfortunately. Gutierrez. And a bit of space now. Angle was closed down well by Van Helderen. Just a corner for Panama. They've been at their best when they can pick up space in the middle and pick out their dangerous wing presences. And Jorge Gutierrez, perhaps the pick of the lot so far. This time, though, Van Helderen tracks him step for step. Taken within swing. Cleared only as far as Muriel. Off the post. Nearly snuck through Vassen's gloves. I don't think he anticipated that to get as close to his near post as it did. Definitely saw it late as well, and did not get a touch. A sneaky effort. Another chance for Jose Luis Rodriguez to cause danger. We enter the final quarter of an hour of this first half. It is a match of tactical cat and mouse thus far. Panama pressing the issue. Suriname has had their moments of promise on the break. Sets the stage for what could be a very intriguing close to this opening half of play. Escobar chips it forward towards Waterman, who does get a touch to this. Ultimately rather tame for Vassen. I'll tell you what, this weather is not very kind to Thomas Christensen's suit. You didn't see him moments ago. I believe he's sitting in the bench area to protect his finely manicured clothing here this evening. Martinez. This is Muriel. Snatched back by Suriname. Klaas. Clever turn this, and numbers the other direction for Suriname. Ushered wide. Tink back towards Van der Kust. Mosquera closes down the angle, and the chance ultimately comes to nothing. That an eyebrow-raising moment, no doubt. Rodriguez. Chipped forward towards Gutierrez. And Haldern and company do just enough. And as we inch towards intermission, perhaps this match may just open up. Chances both ways. See Dorazo Klaas negotiates beyond Carrasquilla with expertise. And then there's numbers. Juvencio van der Kust, as well as Urano Kirk linking up. Mosquera gets off his line in plenty of time. There were at least moments for Panama to contend with on the break. And maybe another one here. Van der Kust chasing after it and overzealous in his attempts to win it back. As this wears on, and perhaps as the conditions begin to take effect and impair vision and recovery speed, maybe you get the sense that Suriname may have an avenue towards the upper hand. Have once again hung in there against a top Central American side, and maybe the stress setting in on that touchline. Remember, in the Gold Cup, despite the fact that Suriname achieved just 1 point, they battled Costa Rica to the wire in that first meeting. Fell behind 2-0, managed to surge back in front, all the way back, to take a 3-2 lead before a controversial penalty allowed Costa Rica to win it late. Against Mexico, it took quite some time for El Tri to open the scoring as well. It took them plenty of time to kill it off after scoring. And while they were eliminated after 2 matches, it was by no means a Gold Cup campaign to be ashamed of. Entering the final 10 minutes of this first half. Still nothing to separate Suriname and Panama in the first match in Group A of the final round of FIFA World Cup 2026 qualifying. I've already set the scene off the top, but 6 matches, a double round robin setup amongst the 4 teams in the group. Winners automatically progress, claim the 3 automatic spots to the FIFA World Cup to join the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Teams that finish second have a chance to qualify for inter-confederation playoffs. And obviously things get dicier there, but at the maximum, 8 Concacaf teams could qualify. That would be the most ever by a country mile in the expanded World Cup, which will be 48 teams next summer. Van der Kust has not been shy about inverting into the midfield. Van Helderen. Decent recovery there by Gutierrez. Carrasquilla. Godoy. Rodriguez. Referee waves play on. Suriname players on the turf right now. Martinez. Clever flick to Waterman. Carrasquilla again. Muriel. Is their way through this Suriname back line. It's an inventive ball. It's not one that yields any final product, though. But this may. Free kick in a rather appetizing spot for Panama. Carrasquilla is the engine that drives everything in midfield. You see him latch onto this. Late challenge from Doraso Klaas. Minimal contact, but enough to draw our referee's ire. And there will be a number of players for Los Canaleros who won't be shy about having a pop from this range. First major test for Etienne Vassen to contend with. As of now, Jose Luis Rodriguez and Coco Carrasquilla look the immediate threats. Escobar in plenty of space. Always rising, never dipping, though. Training ground routine. Carrasquilla plays it right into the path of Escobar, who has a pop. No real test for Vassen in the end. Just puts his laces through it and got underneath it. Gutierrez. Brightest bulb for Panama in the first half. Well, it is unsurprising that he's created danger. Someone who's started now 8 of the last 9 international matches for Los Canaleros. Has only been in the fold since January of 2022, but has rapidly emerged into a consistent force at left back. Currently playing for Deportivo La Jaira in Venezuela. Carrasquilla chips it over the top. Martinez in space and cleared off the line. An excellent response from Suriname. And was that the golden opportunity to open the scoring? Godoy. Escobar. Jose Luis Rodriguez. Comes clear to Kirk, who's undercut here, and a referee may have a decision to make. But it certainly is a challenge that stymied the counter. You see Girano Kirk clearly fouled by Fidel Escobar. And the question is it worthy of more than just a talking to? It appears that Escobar's gotten off scot-free. That wouldn't be a moment that VAR would consider, but it is important to note we do have VAR in the final round of World Cup qualifiers, so more egregious challenges will be looked at. Dorazo Klaas. Closing stages of this first half. That was mishit for Van der Kust. Unintimidated by the rain, the band and the supporters of the Surrey boys out in full force. Has made for a tremendous backdrop as we get World Cup qualifying underway here this evening. Of course, later tonight, Guatemala taking on El Salvador in the other match of the group. And if you know anything about Concacaf, you know that Guatemala matches at home are always a fun environment. Tonight should be no different. The match kicking off at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Balker. On Helderin. Is there a final moment of drama before intermission? As of now, the only major chance of note, the effort from Christian Martinez that was cleared off the line. That may change here though. A 2v2 for Suriname, and it's mistimed from Kirk de Ubitana. Those are the moments that may make the difference between coming up empty-handed and coming up with all of the spoils. See Corano Kirk pounces on the mistake from Panama. Plays this well beyond the reach of Ubitana, who was slowing his run, it seemed. He's always a danger man, Girano Kirk. 29 years of age, playing in the Belgian Pro League with Royal Antwerp. It's just cap number 10 for him, though. It's a common theme with a lot of the starters in the Surinamese 11 here this evening. Rather few with north of 15, even 20 caps to their name. It is a team that has not played together consistently for quite some time. It's a new generation of players, so to speak. Jose Luis Rodriguez. And manages to bypass Van der Kust. We will have at least one final corner before all is said and done in this first half. Just 1 minute of added time in a cagey chess match of an opening 45 minutes. And the 27-year-old Jose Luis Rodriguez may have the final say in things.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth official on the sideline has indicated that there will be 1 minute of added time. 8 minutes extra take.
Carrasquilla to take. It's driven low without swing. Nearly reached the boots of Andrade. Ubitana. I'm sure he'll have his thoughts on the first half. Overall, more than held their own, but they also may have had chances that could have turned into clear-cut opportunities had they played them a bit smarter. The halftime whistle sounds before Van Helderen and company can devote numbers forward. Well, that is where we leave things. After 45 minutes of action, no score in this World Cup qualifying opener between Suriname and Panama, the final round of World Cup qualifying, and we have a stalemate through the opening half of play. We will step aside here briefly, and when we return, a look back at the opening half of action. Stick with us from Suriname.
here, man, alone. No. Give me some bass, me got some. Oh, na. Oh, na, 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 na. It's all about road. And the big fat sister, now you me. You do what them friends and them know me. All them arguments, throw me. You know I get me and bro me. And the more than sister, now you me. You do what them friends and them know me. All them arguments, throw me. But me want to know me. Want to know me. I want to me man and get to me. Go live there and see that grow me. Hold the boy, hold me. Him argument, show me. Me gal want blow me.
We welcome you back to Suriname, where we get a look at our first half highlights from Paramaribo, where Suriname and Panama lock horns for the first time ever in major international competition. A pair of sides beginning Group A in the final round of Concacaf Qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup. Suriname entered hoping to kickstart a campaign that could yield a first ever berth in the FIFA World Cup. Panama looking to capitalize on their role as prospective favorites. And early on, Suriname actually the more effective side on the break. This a major chance that Urano Kirk just skied over the bar. And then Panama created some opportunities the other direction. They bossed possession for the lion's share of the match. This perhaps their best opportunity. Concacaf driving it low, and it's just saved by the fingertips of Etienne Vassen. That was a golden chance to put Panama in front inside 10 minutes. And Panama began to twist the screws more and more as the first half progressed. The most involved player going forward, Jorge Gutierrez. You see him link here with Cecilio Waterman, and his effort just knuckles the wrong direction. Ultimately, no trouble for Vassen, and a physical affair as well between the lines. Neither of these two teams willing to give an inch, understanding that there are major stakes at play. Issue for Panama, though, for all of their possession, very little to show for it in the way of chance creation. So much of the ball, but so little clear-cut chances on Vassen's goal. This effort did hit the post. Vassen saw it late and had it twisted a bit further inside the upright. Maybe we'd be talking about a 1-0 Panama advantage. Suriname, meanwhile, they had key chances on the counter. Juvencio van der Kust linking well here with Urano Kirk. You see him just cut out on the far side as the offside flag was raised. Then as we traveled later and later into the first half, it began to open up a bit more. Panama did have the golden chance. Came a bit after this free kick. A nice training ground routine that found Fidel Escobar. But following that, a key moment that required a goal line clearance. Concacaf chipping it over the top to Christian Martinez, who appeared that he had bypassed the goalkeeper, but van der Kust reacting in the nick of time. Johnny on the spot to clear it before it could cross the goal line, and that was Panama's key moment, robbed by the all-action fullback. That is where the halftime whistle sounded. After 45 minutes, a stalemate between Suriname and Panama. As you get a look at your halftime statistics, right now Panama outshooting Suriname by a 6-2 margin, a heavy possession edge as well. But the key thing of note, only 2 shots on goal throughout the entirety of the first half, and the only one that caused real trouble was
Okay. Damas and heren, zoals de aftrap van de aftrap van de tweede helft. Suriname. Panama.
We're walking back to Paramaribo, the capital city of Suriname, where we are just about set for the second half kickoff in this Group A opener of the final round of World Cup qualifying between Suriname and Panama. No score between the sides after a cagey first half in which effectively a game of cat and mouse was on display. Suriname playing the role of mouse, looking to pick off Panama on the break. Panama the aggressor, but rather little to show for it, with the exception of one effort that was cleared off the goal line from Christian Martinez in the late stages. We are back underway here from the Frank Esset Stadion. Sam Goldfarb taking you every step of the way through the remainder of the 90 minutes as we begin the final round of World Cup qualifying here this evening in Suriname, one of just 3 South American nations that are members of Concacaf, but the nation as a whole identifies far more with the Caribbean, and it is considered, for all intents and purposes, in CONCACAF competition, a Caribbean nation. Their first ever meeting with Panama, and they have been more than game, but this a costly giveaway. Rodriguez, now Carrasquilla. An awkward clearance from Van der Kus that sails over the bar. He had a more stressful first half than I'm sure he would have hoped. Couple of promising counterattacks that didn't blossom into more, but very well could have for Suriname. Thomas Christensen probably had a fair few notes. Someone who's himself played at the highest levels of European competition. Carrasquilla. Martinez, claimed by Vassen, made one impressive stop from long range on Carrasquilla, just tipped it wide on a low driving effort inside 10 minutes. Other than that though, more of a spectator in the first half than I think a lot of neutrals would have expected him to be. A veteran of the Eredivisie at 30 years of age. This is a loose pass from Paul. These are the unforced errors where Panama must pounce. No alterations at halftime. It is important to note, especially on Panama's side of things. A pair of returnees from injury, the likes of Edgar Joel Barcenas on the bench. Here is Waterman, who does keep this in play. Ultimately forced out for a throw. In addition to that, Jose Fajardo, who would be the #1 normally over Waterman, is also on the bench. 2 players that missed the Gold Cup in addition to Carrasquilla and Waterman himself. That's why that many felt Panama did well enough in the Gold Cup despite playing with a depleted squad and despite the clear interior prioritization of World Cup qualifying. This cross is chipped in. Only as far as Coco Carrasquilla, who is fouled just outside the area. And the first yellow card of the match brandished. It appears that that's Dorasso Klaas, who was the first man to enter the book for either side. Definitely late to it. It's a 50-50 challenge that he loses. And that's the price you typically pay for losing a challenge of that nature. Shots right on his boots. There's been some controversy in world football about stepping on players' boots in a 50-50, hasn't there? There's no controversy in that being a yellow, though. This is a rather appetizing set-piece position. A 4-man wall for Donacio. Four-man wall's been upgraded to 5. On a match like this, where things have been so cagey, you'd fancy a set piece to potentially unlock things. Jose Luis Rodriguez, one of the men in the vicinity.
Ladies and gentlemen, yellow card for number 6. Suriname in the 49th minute.
Amir Murillo also lurking. It's off the wall and over the bar for a corner. Not a bad effort. It is one that doesn't quite get over the wall, though, from Amir Murillo. Just pings it right into the back of Richonel Marharet. Now taken short to Martinez. Pushing towards the byline. It's cleared only as far as Jose Luis Rodriguez. And stabbed away for yet another corner. Panama starting to rack up the count. Within swing. Overcooks everyone at the back post. It's not the cleanest Panama performance by any means. Maybe not what we would have expected. There were some free-flowing moments in possession. Ever since the 15-minute mark, things have looked rather stagnant both ways. Will that change here? Marharet manages to navigate beyond 2 Panama players. And has options as well. Plays this wide. Kirk. Suriname will just settle for a corner. As this wears on entire leg set in, you would fancy Suriname to cause a proper problem. You've seen as it gradually opens up, they continue to instill some semblances of fear. It's a rare set piece for them. It will be Kenneth Powell to deliver. Arcing in, it's an inviting ball. Floated away. And only as far as Van der Kust. He was one of the more active presences going forward for the Surrey boys in the first half. And just cap number 15, Vossen with issues clearing this. Rather fortunate that that turned out the way it did. He kept a clean sheet on Friday night in the Eredivisie with Groningen against Heracles Almelo. Only had 1 save to make in that contest. He's kept 29 career clean sheets in the Dutch top flight. This is a clever flick from Marharet, and now receives it back from Van der Kust. Darting it across, Yubitana! Excellent stop. Orlando Mosquera equal to it. That by far the best break we've seen so far from Suriname. And the first clear-cut chance of the match for the Surrey boys. Darted across from Marharet, the delayed run, and it doesn't appear Mosquera even got a touch. Just rocketing it off the crossbar. Get another look. Goal at his mercy, and yes, no touch from Mosquera. Just clatters it off the crossbar. What a chance that was. Van der Kust. Now the wind in Suriname sails. Margaret floating it in, runs all the way to the back post. Ubitana again. Pau. Margaret. Inviting ball, and right at Mosquera. This is the best spell of the match thus far for Suriname. Now things starting to open up here in Paramaribo. And I think the stress meter is continuing to raise for Thomas Christensen. Had large control over the first half. Suriname starting to enjoy plenty more moments on the ball. These are the moments where, if you are Panama, you need to reassert yourselves. Cannot let Suriname grow into this further, and that they may. Kenneth Powell plays it through. Girano Kirk was onside, and a late intervention just does the job. And he may have been off anyways. We are just shy of the hour mark. Get your popcorn ready, because this is reaching its boiling point. Cagey first half. Since the restart, it has not been that by any means. Now Panama devoting numbers forward. Escobar. Murillo arcs it towards the back stick, headed away. Ubitana first to it. Well, for those just joining us, it is a pair of sides that went unbeaten in the second round of qualifying, both starting their World Cup qualifying campaigns in the second round. Suriname 3 wins and a draw over the course of the last calendar year or so. Panama perfect 4 wins from 4 as Kirk snatches this back. And maybe more trouble for Panama. Not the best of passes forward though. As this drags on, if the scoreline persists, you just wonder how these teams will approach it. In many ways, both teams' open proceedings almost set up trying to avoid losing. As Carrasquilla wrestles for this, and he does win it, but an excellent last-ditch challenge from Mianti Abena does the job. See Carrasquilla just outmuscles his defender, and Mianti Abena has to track over with some speed, but he does get in the way. Now Kirk. He was fouled, according to our official. But as we were saying, as this wears on, do you see the teams pack it in and try to preserve what they have? Or does Panama throw caution to the wind and understand that there are only 6 matches to determine your World Cup fate. Maybe the teams throw more resources at the fixture. I think Suriname would definitely be better served with a point. Panama would probably view that as a disappointment. Even if you can make the argument that Suriname has been more threatening. Godoy on international cap number 151. Ismael Diaz linking up with Rodriguez. It's a physical coming together between Marjarets and Murillo. Suriname trying to play out of trouble, and they've done that. This is Ubitana. Klaas. Acres of space now for Paul. And that likely will be a yellow card shown to Martinez, and that it is. First man in the book for Panama, and it is an unquestionable yellow card challenge. He knows exactly what he's doing here. Cynical, a tug of the kit. Not much in it, but stymies a promising break.
Ladies and gentlemen, yellow card for number 6 from Panama, Christian Martinez, in the 62nd minute.
We are in the final 30 minutes of this opening fixture in Group A of the final round of World Cup qualifying. Sam Goldfarb bringing you all of the action. No score between Suriname and Panama. First ever competitive meeting between these two nations. The Panama side, that is the presumptive favorite in this group. The team tipped to advance and qualify for their second ever FIFA World Cup. Of course, the first time in 2018. Didn't necessarily go according to plan. 3 defeats from 3 against the likes of Belgium, Tunisia, and England. Well, when you're playing against Harry Kane and Eden Hazard in their prime, it's not exactly a favorable group. Hoping that this year, in the expanded 48-team format, with heightened opportunity, that this is their year to return to the promised land. Have to take care of business here, though. Martinez driving ahead, and it's excellent defending from Ginano Kirk, who was tracked all the way back from the front line to log that tackle. Finally, we head to the chess match. Changes both ways. Geraldo Becker for Suriname. Carlos Harvey, who plays in MLS with Minnesota United. That is the end of Ubitana's night. It is his effort that was the best thus far for Suriname. Cannoning it off the crossbar. He is replaced by Geraldo Becker in a like-for-like swap. And on the other side of things, Carlos Harvey was a key feature during the Gold Cup for Los Canaleros. Featuring now for Panama in place of Christian Martinez. That is an interesting swap because Harvey by trade, more of a deep lying midfielder. Martinez has experience playing in the more forward role he played tonight as well as a holding role. I wonder if that frees up Coco Carrasquilla to throw caution to the wind in possession.
Also a substitution for Suriname. In the 64th minute, leaving the game is
Geraldo Becker, 30 years of age, signing with Osasuna in La Liga. On deadline day earlier this week. Has played in the Bundesliga, the second Bundesliga, and now La Liga as well. Five international goals on his ledger, best known for his brace against Guyana, which helped Suriname progress to the quarterfinals of the Nations League. in the 24-25 slate. Godoy. As of now, it appears he and he and Harvey will sit deeper. Here is Harvey's first touch. This communication between Paul and his counterpart. Well, he has gone into his reserves. He's brought on a very talented, wide player in Geraldo Becker. Now the question is how that will influence things. Panama still with a convoy of extremely talented attacking pieces amongst their reserves. We've already mentioned the likes of Fajardo, as well as others. As Carrasquilla plays this just beyond the reach of Ismael Diaz. Haven't seen him get properly uncorked just yet, after exploding in the Gold Cup with a quartet of tallies. Back in 2023, it was a hat trick against Qatar, which helped him etch himself amongst the competition's top scorers. Van der Kust. Margaret. Always a danger, number 9. Plays it back for Van der Kust, who does keep it in play. Just stabbed out of danger. He was offside anyways. Juvencio Van der Kust continuing to cause problems, this time on the underlap. Tell you what, it was not his run that's offside. It's a question of whether Maharet was. And he's been deemed to be off. We approach the final 20 minutes, and it is still all to play for in Suriname. Murillo. Carrasquilla. It has all flowed through him tonight. Lays it off to Harvey, who sees his effort deflected out. And if you know one thing about Carlos Harvey, it is that he's not shy about unleashing from long distance. Maybe that just opens up the space for Panama to play in behind. Jose Luis Rodriguez has gotten familiar with the near side corner flag. Chips it towards the back post, headed back into the quarter of uncertainty. Charged away by Becker. And it's not dealt with properly by any means. Escobar. Referee waves play on. Switch of the play to Carrasquilla, who is onside for the time being. Darts it across, off the post. Ismael Diaz, a matter of inches from opening the scoring. Glaring chance. And it's a deflection from what appears to be Radinho Balker, which takes the steam out of it. You see Carrasquilla dart to the byline, the low flashing ball. And it doesn't appear that it even took a slight touch. It did, right off of Balker. And it is his touch off the back which drove it onto the post. And now it is caution to the win for Panama. Edgar Joel Barcenas as well as Jose Fajardo returning to the squad from injury and providing much needed reinforcement on the front line. And this is the moment where Panama chases after it. Rodriguez and Waterman make way for Fajardo and Barcenas. And these two have a reputation for causing trouble for opponents. Joel Barcenas, cap number 95, currently playing with Mazatlan in the Liga MX, did endure a 7-month ACL-related injury that kept him out of this summer's World Cup qualifiers, as well as the Gold Cup. Jose Fajardo missing time due to an injury he sustained towards the start of World Cup qualifying. This hooked in. These players, established veterans north of 30, who can rectify things for Panama in a quick hurry. Another quarter, Barcenas standing over it. Taken short to Carrasquilla. Toward the back post. Cleared only as far as Escobar. Chips it back in, flashed across, and knocked over the bar. Once again, a key moment goes begging. This time Andres Andrade, who just stabs at it late. Decent flick on header this from Fajardo, his first involvement, and the goal was gaping for Andrade, but got underneath it. And Vassen will thank his lucky stars that that was not on frame. Carrasquilla, nifty back heel, Barcenas onto it. Harvey, Carrasquilla, escorts it wide, another decent ball. Not dealt with at all. Gutierrez trying for goal and well off the mark. Half chance after half chance. Some of the chances have ascended towards clear-cut opportunity range, the most recent of which skied by Andres Andrade from point-blank distance. Time rapidly wanes on Panama to secure 3 points to open the final round of World Cup qualifiers. Suriname's influence waning since the bevy of changes they've just made. Fajardo. Throw to Panama, to the chagrin of the Surinamese faithful. And more alterations coming. Suriname's way. Dinio Balker, who had the key intervention moments ago, replaced by Anthony Dijksteel, who has been a key presence in the Surinamese national team for quite some time, as well as a relative newcomer for Suriname in Jean-Paul Boetius, just cap number 4 for the Rotterdam native. Margaret, as well as Balker, make way. So Dijksteel for Balker. And then Boetius for Margaret. Muriel can't pick out Barcenas. Jean-Paul Boetius, a native of the Netherlands, who actually featured for the Dutch senior national team in 2014, completed a one-time switch to Suriname on June 9th. did play a decent role during the Gold Cup as more of a hybrid fullback winger. Likely deployed in a more forward-thinking role here. Currently playing for Darmstadt in the second Bundesliga.
Dames en heren, inmiddels ook een double substitution voor Suriname.
We have hit the final quarter of an hour. The question is, can one of these two teams procure a winner? Carrasquilla sprays it wide to Gutierrez. And now space on the far side. Diaz a step late to it. Van Helderen with a well-timed tackle. Harvey. It all still hangs in the balance. Suriname, much more competitive than many neutrals would have expected. Have even had chances to snag the lead. And now they sprint on forward. Abena plays it to Kirk in space. Rounds the keeper. Mosquera does just enough though. Now ping to the back stick. Panama just able to clear their lines, albeit rather nervously. There are appeals for handball. Let's get another look. Abena plays it into the path of Kirk. Mosquera does well to get a glove in the mix. And this is such a teasing ball. Nearly hooked in. Girano Kirk continuing to cause trouble. It's arcing in. Ultimately, Andrade got a touch. And then the question is, does it touch a hand after the fact? Doesn't appear it did. And VAR was not looking at anything either. Van der Kust. A chipped cross. Boetius, the substitute. Right now, Thomas Christensen continues to look for answers. His side unable to unlock a surprisingly obdurate Suriname back four. And they have been threatened a number of times the other direction. Boetius, this is Kirk again. He's looking forward to Becker. The intervention just in time. These are the moments where you would normally see the home side be brave, but how brave will Suriname be, knowing the firepower they may face the other direction? 3 points would have them potentially dreaming about a first ever World Cup. It would be the perfect start, the dream start. That cross required much more quality than what we just witnessed. Geraldo Becker did everything right but the cross. Got underneath it far too much. And well over the goal mouth. We inch towards the final 10 minutes. It still hangs on a knife edge here in Paramaribo. Venue that has been rocking all evening. 3,100 strong at the Frank Esed Stadion in full force. Referee plays advantage. Van der Kust surging on and on and on. Now down in the area. There are appeals, half-hearted albeit. And the chance, well and truly lost. Paul at the center of it all, as more changes beckon. This time for Suriname, Tian Malone as well as Jaden Montnor, who has a knack for scoring late goals. It is the end of Geronimo Kirk's night, who was dangerous going forward, but lacked the final product required. Meanwhile, Duraso Klaas, who is on a yellow card, vacates for Malone in a like-for-like swap. So Montnor for Kirk, Malone for Klaas. Jaden Montnor scoring that late winner against Puerto Rico. Now appeals for handball. And the question is where this occurred. Yellow card has been shown to what appears to be Mayentia Bena. The referee saying the transgression has taken place just outside the area. Get another look. There's certainly not a lot of contact. And Fajardo appeals for handball. Maybe it did come off Abena's hand. And now the referee has some extracurriculars to sort out. More changes, this time for Panama. Eric Davis replacing Jorge Gutierrez, who enjoyed a strong 81+ minutes. That is an identical swap at left back. Davis, a veteran. Now at 34 years of age, playing for Plaza Amador in the Liga Panameña. Best known for his efforts during the Copa America in 2024 as part of Panama's run to the quarterfinals in that competition. Now there is a somewhat controversial set piece to contend with for Suriname. Called a handball, which Abena's arm was definitely outstretched, but incidental contact at that. Sets up Panama in a well-placed spot for a free kick. Likes of Barcenas as well as Davis in the immediate vicinity. Davis takes it, clatters it into the wall for Suriname. Play stops again. Tian Malone slow to return. Tian Malone, excuse me, is there. It might be Geraldo Becker who's down. Well, it's actually Mayentia Bena who was penalized. And saw that effort clatter right off of his head.
Ladies and gentlemen, the total attendance of today's match is 2,685.
Well, nearly a capacity crowd in Suriname as you hear the attendance figure announced over the loudspeaker. The Surrey boys ready more changes. Remember, there are a bevy of options both ways that can still feature. We've seen most of them deployed for Panama. For Suriname, though, there is the small matter of their all-time leading goal scorer in Cleofilo Fleiter, who has not featured and has been on the subs bench all night. So you take another look at this free kick. Eric Davis just bashing it right into the head of Mayentia Bena, the 30-year-old center back. He is still being tended to by the physios. Official number, 2,685 people in the venue in Suriname. That's a 3,100 seat stadium, so quality turnout here in Suriname, a nation of just over 660,000 people. Pales in comparison to Panama's 4.5 million. You look at every ranking, every major population figure, you would fancy Panama to come away from here with what should have been a relatively comfortable 3 points. Suriname, though, have remained in the fight and in a few instances had chances to take the lead. Denzel Ubitana effort that clattered off the crossbar shortly after the restart, the prime example. Panama, for their own efforts, have created a fair few chances, the biggest of which the Andres Andrade point-blank effort. He stabbed over the bar, albeit with rather little time to react. Godoy. Murillo. Dangerous ball! Excellent save from Vassen. And that may be a moment that defines the result. This is a cross with plenty of venom from Murillo, and right into the path of the oncoming forward, who stabs it goalward, and Vassen with the strong palm to parry it out of danger. Now Barcenas over this corner, without swing. Not dealt with yet, and just sneaks wide. You get the sense that won't be the final effort of that nature Etienne Vassen sees tonight. Here's the first chance. Towering header from Fajardo, who's unattended in the box, and what a save this is. One strong palm from Etienne Vassen, keeping Suriname level. Has not had much to do this evening, but passes his first proper test. And that hit Carrasquia's hand. And if Suriname can go on and even find a winner, that will be a moment they look back on quite fondly. Even if they settle for just a point, I think their goalkeeper will be the hero of the evening. Van der Kust. Passed out to Barcenas. Now Malone. Gives that away needlessly. Neither side giving an inch. They understand what little margin for error there is at this stage of the competition. Just 6 matches to determine your World Cup fate. Only the group winner is guaranteed progress into the World Cup automatically. Then things get dicier. We approach the final minute of the initial 90. And is there a hero waiting? Great challenge from Pinas, but he loses out here. Tucked forward, a chance for Panama, and it is rocketed right at Vassen. Decent interchange there with Barcenas and company. We are in the final minute of the initial 90. It's inviting. Cleared out to Carrasquia. Murillo. Carrasquia. If this holds just a point apiece, then I think Panama may take that as a bigger disappointment. Although Suriname, you could argue, better value for the chances they created. Van der Kust bashes away. Fajardo is the man penalized. 6 minutes of added time separate us from a final result. As things stand, the spoils are set to be shared in Paramaribo. Still one more match this window for both these teams. As you get another look at the injured Van Helderen. Well, if anything, you get the sense that that challenge rather reckless. Maybe they were wrong to penalize Fajardo. Five-match Panama win streak in World Cup qualifying hangs in the balance. Would still remain unbeaten since the Nations League final defeat against Mexico. But I think it would be a rather bittersweet result for a lot of ardent Panamanian supporters. Slightly better spirits, it seems, on the Suriname touchline. I think if the match ends level, the man in the goalkeeper kit, Etienne Vassen, may have a strong claim to man of the match. Unreal stop to keep Suriname level from point-blank range against Jose Fajardo. We are a third of the way through the added 6. Chipped over the top from Malone. Boetius competing and losing out to Harvey. Carrasquilla. Won back cleanly by Boetius. Now the whistle sounds against Panama. Pinas floats ahead towards Becker. Murillo tries to navigate out of danger. Can't quite do so. Boetius. Switch of the play. Is there something brewing for Suriname? In the dying embers of this opening fixture of the final round of World Cup qualifying. Malone. This is likely one of Suriname's final chances to make an impact. Van der Kust. Arcing cross, charged away comfortably, only as far as Boetius. Carrasquilla nearly snatched it back. Pinas. routinely back to Mosquera. We are in the final minute of added time. Few opportunities for one of these two sides to snatch the points. You would think that we may go beyond the 6 minutes due to the injury for Van Helderen. We'll find out in a matter of moments, it seems. Carrasquilla. Clever flick to Boetius, and the return ball is a decent one at that. Maybe one chance for Suriname, just beyond the reach of Jaden Montnort. It was nearly a slick move that yielded a clear-cut chance. But in a match of almosts, that is another one of those. Murillo. Carrasquilla. Likely Panama's final sojourn forward. Vossen gets a pair of gloves to it. Murillo. Barcenas. Plays it back for Murillo. Darts it across. Once again, Vossen gets to it. And now lofted long. Doesn't reach Becker or Montnort. Well beyond the added 6. A collective roar in Suriname. Paul. Boetius looking for Montnort. Comes loose to Carrasquilla. Snatched back by Malone. Numbers forward for Donacio. Space to cross. Floated to the back post. A denial from Mosquera, who recovers in the nick of time. Van der Kust had the goal gaping. Mosquera covers the ground so well. Boetius. One final cross in. Falls for Van der Kust. A pair of jaw-dropping saves from either side. Pinas. And there is the full-time whistle. Well, a night of frustration for both sides. Clear-cut opportunities to snatch a winner on a different night. Maybe it breaks one way or another, but a hard-fought point for Suriname in front of their own fans against the group favorites in Panama. It finishes Suriname 0, Panama 0. We will step aside briefly, and when we return, a look back at the 90 minutes that just transpired here from Paramaribo. Stick with us.
Haar Excellentie Jennifer Geling-Simons. Morgen is haar jaardag en ze mag uit handen van de SVP-voorzitter een prachtig bloemstuk ontvangen. Alvast felicitaties namens de Surinaamse Voetbalbond en de gemeenschap. Ook een speciale shout-out aan de U14 meisjesselectie die vandaag ook hier in het stadion is. Zij hebben nog de halve finale bereikt van de Challenge Cup van de Concacaf for Girls. Ook de U15 selectie van de jongens is in het stadion. zij zijn nog kampioen geworden van de C-League. En een speciale shout-out.
We welcome you back to Suriname, where we get a glimpse back at the 90 minutes that just transpired in a match that finished Suriname 0, Panama 0, the opener of Group A in the final round of World Cup qualifying between Dinacio and Los Canaleros, and Panama unsurprisingly got off to a fast start. This one of their better chances of the match. Coco Carrasquia's effort just tipped wide by Etienne Vassen, who made a number of big saves, especially in the late stages, to keep these Surrey boys in the match. But that's not to take anything away from Suriname, who had their moments the other direction. The likes of Van der Kust and Gerano Kirk creating some trouble on the opposite end and making Orlando Mosquera and company work. The issue being that none of them very obvious or glaring in the first half. Meanwhile, this is the biggest chance of the first for either side. This effort from Christian Martinez cleared off the line by Van der Kust to keep Suriname level shortly before the break. There were some opportunities the other way for Suriname, a couple of counters that petered out before they really should have, but it ended 0-0 at the end of 45 minutes. And then in the second half, we saw moments from both sides. It began to heat up, but neither team able to create the glaring moment. Fouls on the edge of the area, a physical affair, a few yellow cards doled out either way. In many ways, your classic Concacaf fixture. Very little between the two sides and a few key moments that define it. This may be the biggest. This chance from Denzel Ubitana that clattered off the crossbar. And if this flies in, Suriname could maybe start to dream about one of the bigger upsets in recent World Cup qualifying history. But unfortunately for them, it just sailed over, and from there, Panama created a few chances of their own. This a decent effort that just pinged off the post after a deflection from off Balker. And then from there, Panama started to twist the screws. This across towards the back post, a point-blank effort on the return ball for Andrade. And then Suriname the other way. Gerano Kirk forced wide. He nearly floated this cross in. It was not dealt with well at all by Panama, put in a rather unfortunate position, and they were fortunate to not fall behind there. Appeals for handball, VAR didn't even bother to take a look because they were not really worthwhile. And then in the late stages, key moments for Panama that could have maybe swung the match in Los Canaleros' direction. You see the yellow card shown to the center back in Abena, some extracurriculars in the final 10 minutes, and then this, the match-defining save from Etienne Vassen. A lovely cross, a perfectly placed header from the substitute Fajardo, but one strong palm from Vassen keeps them level. And then the other direction, this chance. Van der Kust heading it back across. A strong save by the recovering Orlando Mosquera with two gloves that kept Panama level at the death. And it finished an even 0-0, both teams with their chances to win it, but effectively it was a match of almost moments as neither side was able to procure the opener. You get your look at the stats, a more even affair than I think many would have expected. Suriname not far off in terms of shots on goal. Yes, they had less shots, but probably more clinical with the opportunities they did have, and the possession situation definitely leaned in Panama's favor, but by no means overrunning the Surinamese national team. Well, that is where things finish from Paramaribo in the opener of Group A of the final round of World Cup qualifying. The first match finishes Suriname 0, Panama 0. The spoils shared in this opener as both teams prepare for their next fixtures at the tail end of this week. Have a great rest of your night, everyone. I'm Sam Goldfarb saying so long from Suriname, where it finishes 0-0. Have a great rest of your evening.